Hello and welcome inside another edition of Phillies Nation presented by BQ Basement Systems. I'm Rachel McCauley. He's Corey Seidman. Thanks so much for joining us this week. It's for our first show since Cole Hamels has been traded. And we welcome in Jay Kaplan from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thanks so much for joining us this week. The Phillies were active at the trade deadline as expected. Do you believe they got an adequate return for Hamels? What did you think of the deal?
I did. Honestly, I do. Just being able to get three of the Rangers' top 5 prospects. Obviously, I didn't expect them to get 3 of the 5, but I also didn't expect them to subsidize as much money as they did in taking back Matt Harrison's contract and giving $9.5 million to the Rangers. But given that we know that now that they did that, I think 3 out of the top 5, Jorge Alfaro being kind of the main, most intriguing guy, I think it was a pretty fair return.
I think the key really was that the Phillies filled 2 areas of most need, which was catcher and outfield help. They also got Nick Williams in the deal, and you mentioned they didn't get their top 2 prospects. They got 3 of the top 5. I just think this is where the market has gone. You don't get the top elite superstar in the making prospects anymore, no matter who the player is, unless you're trading Mike Trout, And Cole Hamels had a lot of money owed to him, as you mentioned, and for some teams that was a benefit, for some teams that was a hindrance. I think the Rangers kind of liked it because they're a team that's going to be competitive the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, and Hamels is under contract for right now a market price as far as starting pitchers goes. So it was a good deal for both sides. I saw some people saying like the Phillies won the trade. I can't see that. I mean, Cole Hamels is a proven commodity. None of these guys are proven commodities, although they're higher in level than they are like the Cliff Lee trade, for example. They're all AA or higher, which is good to see.
Yeah, and Ruben Amaro admitted that teams are more willing to pay for talent rather than to give up prospects. So I think that was clear in this deal that the Phillies kind of had to do that if they wanted to get the number of prospects that they got in return.
Between the $32 million that they still owe Matt Harrison over the next 2.5 seasons plus a buyout and the $9.5 million they sent to the Rangers in the Hamels deal, they're pretty much paying for half of Hamels' remaining money. He's owed about $81 million the rest of the way. They're paying $42. So I guess, you get some prospects, you save $40 million. The flip side of it is that you're essentially buying prospects. These guys don't make a ton of money yet, but they do considering you're still on the hook for all this other cash. Still, though, I think this is something you had to do. The Phillies, even if they were dealing with the Yankees, were going to have to take on some money because if the other team had to pay all of Hamels' salary, he would have had less value in terms of the prospects he brought back. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think given they're obviously not strapped for money, the Phillies, this is probably something they should start doing a little bit more and might do a little bit more. But it's funny when you say Hamels is owed $41 million and the Rangers have him for the next 3-4 years. It's a pretty good bargain. But
it's a great price.
Especially but they did give up 3 of their top 5.
True.
And given that there's so many great starting pitchers available on the market this winter, holding out till the winter probably wouldn't have benefited the Phillies, especially given teams' hesitancy to give up their prospects.
Yeah, Amaro at the press conference kind of indicated that he tried for Joey Gallo and Nomar Mazara, who are the Rangers' top 2 prospects, and the Rangers held out. He said that these conversations have been going on for 6, 7, 8 months with Rangers GM John Daniels. So, yes, theoretically, Amaro could have held out, waited till the winter. Andy McPhail could have made the move during the winter when there's 29 other teams in contention. The problem is this market is going to be flooded with starting pitchers. You have Jordan Zimmerman, Johnny Cueto, Scott Kazmir is going to be up, David Price, obviously. And at that point, at the winter meetings, teams might say, okay, I'd rather spend the free agent money than spend money and trade prospects. So, yeah, in a perfect world, you hold out for Gallo and Mazara, but things could have gone wrong if they did that.
Yeah, and don't forget Zach Greinke is probably going to be a free agent too.
Right.
So honestly, I think as soon as they hit August 1st, I mean, Cole Hamels' value is going to be weighed against those guys, and like you said, teams would rather dole out money than give up prospects. And I think his value would have gone way down as soon as you hit the free agent market. At that point, you're probably waiting until the next July 31st.
Right.
Cole Hamels is a year older.
Risk injury.
Risk injury. He's playing for a bad team for another year. Who knows how that goes? So I think this was the perfect time, if not the previous July 31st, to do the trade.
I agree. But Cole Hamels wasn't the only guy that moved. Jonathan Papelbon and Ben Revere. What did you guys think of those deals, Corey? Did you like the Papelbon move?
Well, the Papelbon move, I mean, they were going to take whatever they could get, I think. And once they got like a 2nd or 3rd tier prospect from the Nationals, they jumped at the chance. I mean, I read a couple stories out of the Nats, people in Washington, and Nick Pivetta was regarded as a 2nd tier prospect. He's not one of their top guys, but Jonathan Papelbon, his absence now, the Phillies don't have to pay that $13 million option next year, which they can now use on free agents or they can keep. They can figure out what they want to do with it, and they get a lottery ticket in Nick Pivetta, a guy who throws in the mid-90s. I know he got rocked, he got hit up in his AA debut, but I thought that was a solid return. I mean, it was going to be a disaster if he was here on August 1st, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think he would have been too happy about that. But I think the biggest thing is getting him off the books for next season. I mean, they don't have to worry about him after this year anymore. They don't have to pay him anymore. getting that $13 million off the books. I mean, Nick Pivetta, maybe he's a number 5 starter, maybe he's a number 4 starter. It's probably not much more than that at best, but just getting Papelbon's contract off the books for next year, I think honestly, I didn't foresee that being possible.
Yeah, but it was good that they were able to do so. And what about Ben Revere? Did you like that move?
Yeah, I think he didn't really serve a purpose on a bad team, and especially when his skill set can really help a contending team. And the Blue Jays already DFA'd Danny Valencia to make room for Revere to get everyday at bats because they realized that he's a guy who needs to play every day once he's in there. And yeah, I mean, the Phillies got 2 lower level kind of project prospects, hard throwing guys who don't always know where it's going, but one's 20 years old, one's 23 years old, and maybe down the road they'll figure it out and be pieces in the bullpen. Yeah,
the Phillies got Jimmy Cordero and Alberto Tirado, 2 minor league relievers, and they both throw in the mid-90s, as Jake mentioned, and if one of them works out as a reliever in the future, that's probably a job well done. My thoughts on Ben Revere are, as you said, he didn't make sense on this team. He's a guy who makes a lot more sense for a contender like the Blue Jays that have a strong offense. He can get on base, hit singles, steal bases, score a lot for Tulo and Donaldson and Encarnacion and Bautista, whereas with the Phillies, it's a team that doesn't have as much pop. His skills are more accentuated on a contender. I've thought that all along. However, I do want to say that Ben Revere always got criticized during his time here for not getting on base enough, okay? But when you look at Ben Revere's on-base percentage as a Philly, .331. The on-base percentage of the entire National League during his tenure here, .314, 17 points higher. The on-base percentage of National League leadoff hitters during Revere's time here, .328, better than them too. So you can say what you want about his arm, his lack of pop, but he did get on base enough.
Yeah, and Jim Salisbury said on television the other day that he had 2 scouts text him unsolicited and said the Phillies way lucked out in the Ben Revere deal. And the
Really?
2 guys they got, that they expected them to be very good, and those were unsolicited messages. So who knows? It'll take a couple years to find out, but we shall see. All right, coming up on Phillies Nation, we'll discuss Matt Harrison, who the Phillies got back in the Cole Hamels deal, and look ahead to Jimmy Rollins' return to Citizens Bank Park.
Phillies Nation is presented by BQ Basement Systems, the Philadelphia region's premier basement contractor.
Have you ever noticed a crack in the foundation of your house? Concrete and block foundations usually have at least a few cracks. The trick is recognizing which ones are serious. I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997 to help my Delaware Valley neighbors answer that question. We specialize in foundation repairs, concrete leveling, and all things basement. Have one of our certified inspectors out for a free evaluation and estimate.
If you're a sports fan, you need to check out Sports Vault. Our stores will surround you with a great selection of autographed memorabilia, licensed apparel, trading cards, and novelties. Want to meet your favorite local and national superstars? Sports Vault brings the legends to you with dozens of in-store appearances. Check out any of our 3 locations in King of Prussia, Exton, or Moorestown. Or visit sportsvaultshop.com and use the code PhilliesNation to save 20% on your next order of autographed merchandise.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Philly has a long sports history filled with great players and moments. Shibe Vintage Sports in Center City relives the glory years with fashionable attire for all your favorite teams. Separate yourself from the crowd with the hippest Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers gear. Pick up some unique shirts featuring local teams of yesteryear, or come to fun events where you can learn about your favorite teams. So if you're a sports fan, then you need to check out Shibe Vintage Sports. Visit them at 13th and Walnut or shibesports.com.
This segment is brought to you by the Sports Vault. Come to their store in the Moorestown Mall on September 12th to meet new Phillies closer Ken Giles. Find out more at sportsvaultshop.com. Welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems. I'm Corey Seidman, and before getting into some more Phillies trade deadline talk, I wanted to explain how August trades work because I think it's a bit of a misconception. People might not be totally clear on it. So July 31st is the non-waiver trade deadline. The keywords there are non-waiver. In August, players go on waivers, and most teams will put all of their guys on because there's little risk in making them available, because if they are to be claimed, the team can simply pull them back off. They're revocable waivers. So if the Phillies place Ryan Howard on waivers and he gets claimed by a team and the Phillies want to hang on to him, they can simply pull him back. However, the Phillies probably want to get out from under Ryan Howard's salary, so they would want him to be claimed. And if he were to be claimed, the Phillies could then try to work out a trade with that team. They have 2 business days to work out a trade. Mention that the waivers are revocable, which means they can pull the player back off waivers. However, if the Phillies try to pass through a player once and then pass him through again, the waivers become irrevocable, which means that any team that claims him gets him. You might wonder how the waiver priority order works. Well, it goes in inverse order of standings within the players' league. So a National League team placing a player on waivers, the team with top priority will be the team with the worst record in the NL. And to get to an AL team, the player would have to pass through every NL team before the worst team in the AL can get him. You won't know if a player is placed on waivers. It doesn't need to be disclosed until a trade is worked out. And, some recent examples of August trading within the Phillies, they traded Roberto Hernandez to the Dodgers last season, and everybody remembers the big Dodgers-Red Sox blockbuster involving Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford. That, too, was an August trade. If you want some more details on this, I explained it all in depth on csnphilly.com.
We're back with Jake Kaplan from the Philadelphia Inquirer. The Cole Hamels deal brought back veteran pitcher Matt Harrison. Was he just a throw into the deal, or do you think he might provide any value to the Phillies at all?
I'd say it's a long shot at this point. Even Pete McCannon the other day said he wouldn't bet on Matt Harrison pitching this year. He came out of his last start against the Yankees with some tightness, and he's only made 3 starts since 2012. He's had a lot of back issues. So I wouldn't expect him to see it this year. Maybe he bounces back next year and he becomes a really good story, or a guy who can contribute as a 4th or 5th starter next season. But at this point, I think he was just part of the deal because of his contract.
Yeah, I talked to Matt Harrison on this past Saturday at the clubhouse when he arrived, and he said that after his 3rd start against the Yankees, when he allowed 6 runs, that he woke up the next day, he was in a lot of pain, the most pain he's felt in quite a while. The story of Matt Harrison, it's unfortunate. He went 18-11 with a 3.29 ERA back in 2012, made the AL All-Star team, finished 8th in Cy Young voting. The Rangers rewarded him with a $55 million contract, and immediately the back issue started. Chronic back injuries the last 3 years, and last year he had spinal fusion surgery, which no baseball player has ever successfully been able to come back from. Dallas McPherson, former Angels top prospect, the only guy who Harrison could recall who had it, he only played about 25 more games after the surgery. Harrison was given a 20% chance to ever pitch again by doctors, and he made it back within 14 months, so that was good to see. But I don't really know. I think the Phillies are going to give him a full off season to try to get him back. They're going to want some value because they're paying him $32 million here going forward. When he was first included in the trade, I know a lot of fans were confused. I kind of saw it as, instead of just giving the Rangers money, they're taking on Harrison's contract. Maybe you get a little value out of it, but I wouldn't hold out that he's going to be an all-star or revert to that form.
Yeah, it's definitely a high risk for him. But if he does, it would be a fantastic story if he is able to come back from that surgery, because it is a pretty big deal. All right, guys, Jimmy Rollins comes back to Citizens Bank Park this week, where he spent many years with the Phillies. What are you looking to see from J-Roll in his return?
It'll be interesting because he came into when the Phillies visited Los Angeles last month. He was really struggling. I think he was hitting 208 or in there, 213, somewhere in that range, and he killed the Phillies in that series. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does in the second go-around here in Philly. I remember when we were in LA, a lot of the pitchers he was facing weren't guys that were his teammates. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets to face some guys who he actually played with, and maybe have some bragging rights there from that.
I thought that when the Phillies went to Dodger Stadium and Jimmy had that great series, that was going to kickstart his season. It was going to lead to success in the second half. Really hasn't done so yet, but if there's one thing I can guarantee, it's that Jimmy Rollins is going to make an impact in some way in this series, offensively or defensively. Sure. He always lives up to the moment. Anytime that all the cameras are on him and he's the story, he shines. He really does. And I just want to say that the other day I'm watching a Dodgers game. It's still weird to see Jimmy making plays in the hole in blue. I mean, you're so used to seeing him as a Philly and all that, but Vince Scully was in awe of his defense. Jimmy made a play look easy, as he's done thousands and thousands of times, and it's just cool to see like an opposing announcer for all those years, probably the most legendary announcer there's ever been, be in awe of a player like Jimmy Rollins. Yeah, he's struggled at the plate so far this season, but like you said, his defense is on point, and when he comes back here, he's going to have a little something extra to prove. And real quick, Jake, you mentioned that Jimmy Rollins is a free agent after the season, and the Dodgers have Corey Seager, the top shortstop prospect. Also interesting to see where he lands next.
Yeah, he did say when we were in LA last month that he wants to keep playing after the season, which isn't surprising. I think he's still got some left, but it'll be interesting to see where he lands again. It was weird getting used to seeing him in a Dodgers uniform, so Phillies fans will have to get used to seeing him in another uniform most likely next year.
Regardless of how he does, there'll definitely be a loud ovation for Jimmy Rollins when he returns to Citizens Bank Park. Jake, thanks so much for joining us. You can read all your hard work in the Philadelphia Inquirer. When we come back on Phillies Nation, we'll catch up with Kevin Wilson and take a look at our fantasy picks next.
Live sports, craft beer, great food, good times. What more do you need? Every day is a party at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall, the largest sports bar in Center City. Come to 11th and Filbert to see what you've been missing.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lenny Roberts from Summit Spine and Wellness. For well over a decade, we've been helping people in the greater Philadelphia region reach their health goals. If you suffer from stress and tension in your neck, have low back pain, or experience sciatica, let our experts take care of you. Clients also love our stress-relieving massage therapy and easy-to-follow nutrition plans. You don't have to live with your pain and discomfort. We can help. Your initial consultation is free. Call Summit Spine and Wellness now at 215-487-2500.
I'm Brian Quinn from BQ Basement Systems. Call us for all things basement-y. Ask us about our poly-level concrete leveling system. It's a cost-effective, less disruptive, permanent solution, and it has a quick cure time. It can be driven over or walked on in 15 minutes after installation. Since 1997, over 7,000 customers have trusted us. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Philly has a long sports history filled with great players and moments. Shibe Vintage Sports in Center City relives the glory years with fashionable attire for all your favorite teams. Separate yourself from the crowd with the hippest Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers gear. Pick up some unique shirts featuring local teams of yesteryear, or come to fun events where you can learn about your favorite teams. So if you're a sports fan, then you need to check out Shibe Vintage Sports. Visit them at 13th and Walnut or shibesports.com.
Our fantasy baseball recap is presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter the promo code PHILS for a free entry. Corey, let's take a look at how we did last week. How'd you do?
Well, I had Preston Tucker of the Astros, and he hit about 300 with a homer, so decent. And I also had Jaime Garcia coming back for the Cardinals. Made 2 starts, had a 3.27 ERA, but he only gave you 11 innings over those 2 starts, and I fear that's what's going to happen moving forward. He's not a guy who goes too deep into games. How about you?
I did okay. I had Aaron Nola for the Phillies. He had 5 innings pitched with 2 earned runs and 3 strikeouts, but he got the win, so that was good. And I had Rougned Odor, who had a home run and 3 RBI, so he did okay.
There you go.
Not great, but not terrible.
Yeah, and the Phillies providing Aaron Nola plenty of run support, so that's great to see. This week I have Jung-Ho Kang of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's a rookie from Korea, and he's been rolling the last couple weeks, hitting since the All-Star break, hitting over 400 with an OPS nearing 1,200, 3 home runs. Pitching, I have Jimmy Nelson of the Brewers. I think I took him earlier in the season. He's a guy who's up and down, very inconsistent. The reason I like him this week is facing the Padres, and the Padres are a very right-handed dominant team. Righties hitting just 204 against Jimmy Nelson compared to 296 for lefties. How about you?
I'd take Brian Zimmerman with the Nationals. He just came off the DL. He had a home run in his first of 3 games, but he's eligible at 3 positions, so that makes him very valuable. And I also like John Lackey with St. Louis. He's got 2 starts this week at the Reds and the Brewers, so we'll see how he does. Let's break it down by the numbers, which is presented by Shibe Vintage Sports. Check out their new Veteran Stadium shirt at their store at 13th and Walnut in Center City. Corey, you have 2 numbers this week, 41 and 32.
Yes, and both apply to Ryan Howard, who has been quietly pretty good for about a month and a half now. Ryan Howard, let's start with the number 41. He has 41 extra base hits this season in 97 games played. He had 42 extra base hits, only 1 more last year in 153 games played. So the power has returned in a way that we didn't expect. And 32, he's driven in 32 runs, Howard has, over his last 35 games. Since June 18th, Ryan Howard and Buster Posey tied for the National League lead with those 32 RBIs.
Yeah, he's quietly having a very good season, and maybe not quite playing up to his contract still, but it's still he's having a much better year, so that's good to see. My number's 43. According to Major League Baseball, there were 43 trades made between June 1st and July 31st. It was a very active trade deadline. and it was the busiest from any year since 1997, and that's courtesy of Anthony McCarron from the New York Daily News on Twitter.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I was thinking throughout the whole process, it seems like this has been the most active deadline that we've seen in quite a while, and not just activity, but a ton of big names, splashy names changing teams. David Price, Troy Tulowitzki, Cole Hamels. It was superstar after superstar.
Yeah, it really was. It was exciting to follow last week, that's for sure.
And speaking of big names, we have Kevin Wilson coming back to give us a couple by the numbers of his own.
13 is my number, and that's 13 swings and misses per 9 innings in Major League Baseball, per team. So you might think about, well, that's a little low number because strikeouts lately have gone up. But for me, that's telling us a lot. If a team is only swinging, missing at pitches 13 per 9 innings, then that tells me that the big league guys understand barrel control. They understand how to get the bat on the ball. Now, how they get to the strikeouts is a totally different topic here in a discussion, but we're talking about 13 swings and misses per 9 innings in Major League Baseball over the last 5 years. So they're not swinging and missing as much as maybe taking a pitch.
Thanks, Kevin. When we come back on Phillies Nation, we'll take a look back at Aaron Nola's first 3 starts and talk some more trade deadline.
Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Enter promo code PHILS for free entry.
Behold, we are in the presence of champions. Fantasy sports legends who have earned hundreds of thousands of dollars playing online. Meet Arlie Gonzalez. Average guy, superior sports knowledge. Picked a team in minutes and won enough to throw the party of a lifetime. In outer space. Former accountant Derek Bradley. DraftKings One Day Fantasy Baseball took him from a guy with holes in his underpants to a guy with bikini models in them.
How do we turn our love of fantasy sports into reality cash?
DraftKings.com. They have one-day games, so you're not locked in. It's like a new season every time you play. And best of all, you could win a shipload of money.
Start playing today for your share of $1 billion. Use promo code PITCH and get free entry in our 100K baseball contest on opening day. More sports, more winners, more millionaires. Get to DraftKings.com now.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Spring is in the air. Unfortunately, for many of our Delaware Valley customers, spring means wet basements and crawl spaces. If this is something you struggle with, call BQ Basement Systems. We're the experts in identifying where the water is coming in from, how to get it out, how to keep it out for good. Give BQ a call, and one of our certified inspectors will come out to give you a free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Travel is not the exciting adventure it used to be. I still love the destination, yet getting there can be a hassle unless you travel like the pros. Major League Vacations offers exciting personal or group travel options to your team's away game or your favorite vacation destinations. MLB does all the legwork. You focus on the experience. For more than 20 years, MLB has been a trusted partner to thousands of people just like you. Visit MLB.com and make travel exciting again, or call 800-222-6256. Tell them Ricky Bo sent you.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation. Corey, Aaron Nola has really been almost as advertised since he's come up to the big leagues. As you mentioned before, he's gotten a lot of run support, which has definitely helped, but he's pitched pretty well so far.
Through 3 starts, Aaron Nola 2-1 with a 3.38 ERA, a strikeout to walk ratio of 15-5. And you know what I am noticing though about Aaron Nola is that his numbers against right-handed hitters, they can't touch him. They really can't. Left-handed hitters, it's a different story. Lefties hitting 300 against Aaron Nola, 9 for 30, 4 extra base hits, just 2 strikeouts. Right-handed hitters, 188 with 13 strikeouts. So his breaking stuff really plays better against righties. Last weekend against the Braves, he allowed 2 runs in the first inning on 3 really well-struck balls by veteran lefties Nick Markakis, Freddie Freeman, A.J. Pierzynski. It's because the reason that I'm seeing from it is that his curveball, which is his best secondary pitch, has different, it has different life against a lefty. Against a righty, it will break down and away, or it freezes them by starting inside and coming back over the plate, whereas to a lefty, you can kind of barrel it up. That's why you see right-handed pitchers go to a changeup so much against lefties. But through 3 starts, I agree. You know, he looks polished, he works quickly. He doesn't seem to get phased when he allows early runs, which is a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, is that he's been really cool as a cucumber, as Pete Buchanan said the other day, that he's just calm, cool, and collected, and nothing seems to faze him. And being a highly touted prospect, you don't always see that.
Exactly, and I think that, you know, there could have been a lot of pressure placed on him with Cole Hamels being traded and Nola being so highly touted to be the ace, but he's just not that kind of guy. He's not the kind of guy who gets, you know, hung up in labels and numbers and all that. He just goes out and pitches. He's a very even-keeled, level-headed guy, and it's perfect for this situation.
For sure, and it's fun to watch. You mentioned Maikel Franco. Do you think he has a possibility of maybe Rookie of the Year?
You know, it's an intriguing question now. I think all along we thought that it was going to be a 2-horse race between Jock Peterson of the Dodgers, Chris Bryant of the Cubs. Certainly they had a lot more luster on their names than Maikel Franco did, but his numbers are better than both of them. Bryant and Peterson are mired in awful slumps right now. Chris Bryant's down to like 250, Jock Peterson's down to about 220. Now they both have power, but Maikel Franco has a higher slugging percentage than both. He has a higher OPS than both. He has played pretty good defense at third base, and if he has like 6 more good weeks, I think he's a legitimate contender for Rookie of the Year, although I would say there's more contenders than just those 3. Matt Duffy of the Giants, Jung-Ho Kang of the Pirates, both getting their names in consideration as well.
Yeah, Chris Bryant just seems to have his name associated with walk-offs and like very sexy headline-grabbing things, so that might make him a little bit more popular just because of that. And so let's take a look back at the trade deadline. What were some of your favorite moves last week and ones that you didn't like so much?
I really like the Astros, what they did. I mean, they brought in Carlos Gomez, Mike Fiers. They also got Scott Kazmir a couple days ahead of the deadline, a week or 2 ahead of the deadline. And I just thought they addressed their needs. They got 2 starting pitchers to add to a staff that includes Dallas Keuchel and Lance McCullers. And, you know, picking up Carlos Gomez, he's, in my opinion, the best bat that changed hands at the trade deadline outside of Troy Tulowitzki, and maybe even including Troy Tulowitzki, just because Gomez also adds the center field versatility and the fact that he can stay healthier than Tulo. But I just like what they did because they didn't sell the farm for Cole Hamels. It sounds like they put together a big package to get Hamels. Hamels wasn't willing to waive the no-trade clause. I like what they did. I did not like that the Yankees pretty much just stood pat.
They did nothing.
The Blue Jays improved significantly. The Yankees didn't do anything, and not from no effort. It sounds like they really tried hard to get Craig Kimbrell from the Padres, but you know, to not improve at all, I think this is the year for the Yankees. You're not going to have A-Rod and Teixeira performing like this every year, so I would have thought they would have done a little more.
Yeah, and they're a team that likes to strike when the iron's hot, but they didn't seem to do so this year. You mentioned the Blue Jays. I really liked what the Blue Jays did. Troy Tulowitzki might have been a questionable move by some, and when it first came down, I think everybody was like, why did they do that? But it definitely makes sense. It seems like a good move for them, and David Price, of course. But I was surprised. Yes, for sure. I was surprised by the Padres. They did absolutely nothing. They stood pat, and after the offseason that they had with all the deals that they made, I really thought they would have done something a little bit more at the trade deadline.
I agree, because they have some impending free agents, guys like Justin Upton, Ian Kennedy. I mean, Andrew Kashner's up after next season, so they should have gotten some value while they still could. They're not going to contend. I don't know what A.J. Preller's thinking. Maybe he's just thinking, the general manager out in San Diego, that if he were to trade these players that he sold the farm for, it's kind of an admission that it all failed.
Right, yeah, absolutely, and GMs never want to admit that they messed up. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Phillies Nation. Special thanks to Jake Kaplan for joining us as well. We're back in 2 weeks. We'll see you then.